There have been sporadic reports of some Americans not being able to get through checkpoints. I fully admit that.
I don't think anyone is denying the reports that are out there.
Yeah, well, the president just did. Then Biden was contradicted by his own defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, telling Congress today that some people, including Americans, have been harassed and even beaten by the Taliban on their way to the airport. Now, here now is Tennessee Congressman Mark Green, former Army Special Forces operator and Foreign Affairs Committee member. Also here is Florida Congresswoman Kat Cammack, creating a bit of a stir on Twitter earlier today. Congresswoman, we'll get to you in 1 second here. Congressman Green, obviously this is embarrassing. We clearly see that important people, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, his Secretary of Defense, State Department, seem to not be communicating. He's being contradicted by his own people pretty much in real time, like within an hour. Tell me your thoughts on this within your position and certainly your experience with Afghanistan.
Sure, and thanks for having me on. Joe Biden has created the greatest hostage crisis in American history. He's a clear and present danger to the safety of Americans. We have 10,000 Americans who are stranded on the other side of the wire there in Kabul, and for days they've implied they wouldn't even go after them. You had to have the British and the French go after their people to motivate our president to actually go and do something. And I blame the president for that. You know, in the press conferences I've heard with Mark Milley, he said this the other day: that's a policy decision and we are ready to execute. That basically tells me that he wants to do it. He wants to act, but he needs approval from the commander-in-chief. And this commander-in-chief has lost complete touch with reality. You've pointed out many contradictions that are directly from Joe Biden himself. Now, granted, State Department, they have utterly failed. I've got tons of friends in the military. They're telling me they've been executing the missions that the commander's given them. But the State Department has been asleep at the wheel.
You know, I'll tell you something, sir. One of the biggest statements you could make would be for him to resign and say that he'd had enough.
Absolutely. You know, yeah, so I've said it, he should.
There's actions. You can resign because you're embarrassed, or you can resign because you're not being listened to, and it's that dangerous. Congresswoman Pelosi said something on a phone call today that you were on, because there's other things going on behind the scenes. The media isn't necessarily there. You were involved in a phone call today that completely shocked you, what Pelosi said. What was that exactly?
Yeah, you know, Tammy, thank you so much for your passionate coverage of this. This is absolutely ludicrous where we find ourselves. And, you know, my colleagues and I, we were on a call today with SecDef Austin, with Secretary Blinken, and with General Milley. And the first question, when they opened it up to members of Congress, went to Speaker Pelosi. She praised the leadership in the White House. She praised the three gentlemen that we were on the phone with. But the thing that struck me the hardest was her comment towards the end of, quote, "Everything sounds like it's okay and going good. Everyone just needs to get to the airport."
Wow.
It took me about 10 minutes to get my jaw off the desk. Madam Speaker, this is not like you can take an Uber to the Kabul airport. You can't take a casual stroll down the street and make it through checkpoints. This is absolutely insane that the Speaker of the House made a comment so out of touch, so tone deaf, so ridiculous, really out of touch of what is happening, boots on the ground. In my office alone, we have over 150 individuals, U.S. citizens and visa holders that we are trying to get out of country. They are sending us videos where they have been beaten, where they are hiding from the Taliban. They can't talk on the phone because they are literally in hiding. They are emailing. This is insane. This is the Speaker of the House. When you talk about a failure of leadership, again, the boots on the ground, they're getting it right. It's the suits in Washington that have failed.
Congresswoman,
there's really a crisis of confidence with the White House.
I think this is what is so disturbing Americans and the world, and that's what's making this so dangerous. Truly disturbing, of course, after what you've discussed about the Taliban, what we know is happening in Afghanistan. Listen to this. The Biden administration refuses to call the Taliban our enemy. Listen to this.
Does the U.S. military consider the Taliban an enemy?
Our focus right now, the thing we're working against right now is time and space.
Congressman Green, this is like, a country that is being run by a bunch of Ted Bundys and Charles Mansons. All right, these are serial killers.
These are pedophilic.
They
they're
sexually
savages.
abuse children. They're savages. They sexually enslave men and women.
They
this
killed
is
my
insane.
friends.
What is your people you know have been murdered by these individuals? What
Yes.
do you think of this lack of a willingness? What does it mean that we won't call them the enemy of this country?
Well, this is so typical of Democrats. Whether it was Carter, who wanted détente with the Soviet Union, Bill Clinton, who pulled out of Somalia as soon as we got a bloody nose, and that brought about al-Qaeda, Obama, Biden actually pulling out of Iraq in 2011 to create ISIS. This is just who they are. They can't name the enemy. And the Taliban killed my friends. The Taliban killed hundreds of Americans. Our allies have died. Call them an enemy? They're marrying 6-year-olds. This is a sadistic, pedophilic ideology. They are the enemy, and they should be crushed. What we're doing right now is absolutely absurd. We're just basically capitulating and running away. I'm sorry.
Well,
go ahead.
it seems to me, Congresswoman Kamek, that they almost wanted some kind of thing to celebrate on September 11th. None of this makes any sense. It sounds insane. We've got about 15 seconds here with the last word. What do you think of this entire rollout and what this means?
This entire drawdown withdrawal has been motivated by politics, pure and simple. 9/11 was a political date to meet. Now we are seeing that has been moved up. There's no question. This is exactly why politics should not be driving policy. That is why we have a crisis in the confidence of our military leadership, and that includes the commander-in-chief. I agree wholeheartedly with my colleague, Mark Green. These people are the enemy. There is no legitimacy in their government. This is something that we cannot stand for. They enslave little girls. They traffic in humans. This cannot stand.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, the women and girls that have grown up under the last 20 years, they're in for a horrific future. We need to get very serious about getting our people out and then dealing with how we are going to respond to not only the inventory of arms and munitions that we have left behind, but the human rights violations that are going to occur under this Taliban rule.
Very good point. And for those who say that this is none of our business, this is just their business, this is a cancer. It will move with Iran and with Russia, working with China. This is the kind of thing that does not stay put. This is about who we are and also worrying and caring about this country. And we can walk and chew gum at the same time. None of this had to happen. Getting out of Afghanistan, I think Americans are united in that. This was a complete catastrophe, and that's what we're talking about. Congressman Green and Congressman Kamek, thank you for joining us tonight.